12-0 Green Bay. Hey, this is a big one today because the Packers are trying to make their way to 16-0. Welcome back to Get Sharp, everybody. I'm your host, Joe Fortenbaugh. We're joined today by Bryan Leonard, professional bettor from pregame.com. Bryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
How long have you been out here in Vegas? Tell our audience a little bit about how long you've been here and what it is exactly you do.
I own a sports handicapping service. I do a lot of videos and work with pregame now. Been out here since '97. Used to come out here a lot. I'm originally from Cleveland. I know you're.
Oh, you guys are from the back
area.
east area.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh, Philly.
Cleveland. And in fact, Youngstown is known for their bookmaking area, and that's right in the middle of Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Jimmy the Greek, isn't he from the area?
I believe so.
Beautiful. Well, we got a big game today that I want to talk about personally for a few reasons because we see the line movement, and it's interesting to me early in the week. 82% of the action coming in on the Packers early in the week in this one. Obviously, they're a very public team. But we see the line open at 12 and move a point towards the Raiders to 11. Now, that settle at around 11 and a half. What exactly does that tell you when you see something like that? A big percentage of people one way, but the line moving the other.
Well, it tells me the big money is betting the one way, and a lot of the smaller money is betting the other way. In fact, I did a podcast earlier today with Chris Andrews from Cal Neva, and he actually can tell us what kind of a ratio they have, like a 7-to-1 ratio on a certain team or whatever. And Cal Neva is one of the places where it's all around the entire state, so they have a lot of smaller bettors. And he can actually tell when a wise guy's going in there to make a limit bet, because RJ will ask him, how many limit bets have you had here and what side are they on? So even though he can't, when you have 30, 40 outlets, you can't basically handicap to faces. You know if a guy's coming in and he's betting $1,000, whatever their limit happens to be right there on that game, he knows that that's a wise guy bet, because most guys are not betting it early in the week. I have found most guys who bet on a casual basis, not a professional, they tend to bet as the game approaches. For example, they're going to bet the Thursday game. If they do on the Thursday game, they know what their bankroll is for their Saturday games, and so on.
All right, let's take a look at this. The Raiders, they're coming off a bad loss at Miami last week. That could be the type of thing that you would think the public will keep in their mind and think, well, if Oakland couldn't go to Miami and win, how are they going to go to Green Bay and win? But a little interesting stat, 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 games, coming off an against the spread loss. Let's talk about motivation in this one. How is that going to play into effect? Oakland's looking up at the Broncos right now in the AFC West. They're fighting for a playoff spot. Meanwhile, Green Bay, they're already in. Does 16-0 mean that much? I know it's great to go down in history, but is that as much of a driving force in terms of motivation?
It is a motivational force, but really they only have to win by 1. And that's the big advantage we have here. Oakland's actually 5-1 against the spread on the road. The only time they didn't cover was last week against Miami, and I happened to have Miami. Unfortunately, I had the under, and then when Miami took the big lead, I knew that was out of the way. But yeah, you have to take a look at the motivation, and really this game means a whole lot more to Oakland.
Let's take a look at where this line could possibly close. The public has loved Green Bay this year, rightfully so. It's a high-scoring team. It's an exciting team, a lot of national TV games, just like you see with New Orleans and New England. Right now, we're sitting at around 11 and a half. Do you see this going up by kickoff?
Actually, I think it's about where it should be. There's dead numbers, 11 and a half, 12, 12 and a half are pretty much dead numbers. I don't think it'll get to 13. If it ever got to 13, the wise guys would be all over it. Yeah. And if it gets down to 11, and the thing is, the general public, the general public doesn't pay much attention to the line. They just pay attention to the team. And you mentioned last week with the Oakland going to Miami, that plays a significant factor in the public's betting. Is they're looking at what happened recently. They don't look over the conglomerate of what the team has done over the season. They look at what have they done lately. And especially if they've lost on that team, they don't want to back them the following week.
Let's talk about the total for a second. 3-point swing in this one, pretty big considering what you see from most games. Opens around 55, real high number. Now down to around 52, 51 and a half. Is that a little bit more in Oakland's favor? Because you got to figure if they're going to cover this game, you'd expect it to be a little bit more low scoring.
Yeah, I agree. You take a lot of times people have in their mind of what teams did early in the season. And Oakland put a lot of points up early in the season, but lately they've been winning with defense in the running game. And to be honest with you, when you're getting a total in the 50s, traditionally, if you got a total in the 50s, you just bet it under, and you made a lot of money. This year with the passing of the quarterbacks and everything, it's slightly different, but you're also taking into account Green Bay weather in December, which is always something you have to take a look at, because you could see a line, somebody will get a weather report and big snowstorms coming in, that line could drop 2-3 points in no time. So I think a lot of guys might have said, hey, there's no way this game's going to stay at this number. And the way Oakland's playing good defense right now, in fact, I do a lot of work with first halves, and lately they're just playing great defense in the first half, which actually is something that you want to take into account in this game, because Green Bay has a big advantage when they get off to a big lead. Then they can blitz the linebackers, they can key on the passing game. And if Oakland holds Green Bay within 7 points or something at the half, which I expect them to do, and with this current line you would expect that something similar, 6 or 7 points, they have the ability to continue to play their game into the second half and not have to pass. And that's the Oakland weakness right now. The quarterbacking, they've already lost their starting quarterback. They've got a quarterback that's had some injury problems in the past, and their receivers are really not very good. So they have to rely on the running game and the defense. And as long as they can stay in a game, Oakland's a very good team.
Double-digit dogs, 11, 16, and 2 against the spread this year. We saw it Thursday night. Pittsburgh failed to cover. They had some injuries at the quarterback position, but at the end of the day, they couldn't get it done. Do you see that moving to 11, 17, and 2, or will the Packers come through on this one, in your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the Oakland's the right side here. You've got a Green Bay team playing at home, 12-0 on the season. They want, regardless of what they say, they really want the 16-0. But something that I haven't heard anybody else talk about, the last 2 weeks, the Packers played Thanksgiving game against Detroit, and then last week against the Giants. All I heard was those are the 2 games that the Packers are going to lose. They're going to lose one of those 2 games. Well, if you're a Packers player, you've survived those 2 games. Now you're going back home against a team from the opposite conference, so this game isn't that important to them. And it's a situation where you've got a team right now that's really high in the public. In Oakland, as you said, last week they lost at Miami, and Miami doesn't have much of a home field advantage, so they're thinking about that. But as long as you can catch 11, I think Oakland's right side in this game.
Excellent stuff. Bryan Leonard from pregame.com. Thank you very much. Enjoy the game, everybody. Bryan's going to be back to break down the Saints and the Titans, but for now, enjoy the game and best of luck.